Welcome to the deep dive. In today's business world, it really feels like we're constantly navigating a maze, doesn't it?
It really does. Things change so fast.
Exactly. New regulations pop up, and frankly, making sure everything lines up with all the legal and ethical standards. It isn't just a nice to have these days.
Oh, absolutely not. It's foundational.
It's the absolute backbone of, well, any company that wants to stick around. It's about protecting against risks, keeping that trust, and just keeping the whole operation on solid ground.
Mm.
And right there, smack in the middle of this critical function, there's a role that's not just growing, but seeing explosive demand, the compliance specialist.
Yeah, that demand is really something.
These are the unsung guardians,
Yeah.
so crucial for keeping organizations safe from potential pitfalls, making sure they stick to the legal frameworks. So what we're doing today is taking a deep dive into the blueprint, really, of what makes a top-tier compliance specialist.
That's right. And our source material for this deep dive, it's this really comprehensive guide. It breaks down not just the common interview questions for the role.
Which is useful in itself.
Totally. But maybe more importantly, it really digs into the underlying skills, the kind of mindset employers are genuinely looking for. Think of this as like your fast track to understanding this absolutely vital area.
Right, whether you're maybe thinking about a career in compliance yourself, or perhaps looking to hire your next specialist.
Or even if you just want to be properly informed about a profession that's really shaping modern business.
So our mission for you by the end of this deep dive is pretty clear. We want you to walk away with a really solid grasp of the essential competencies, those critical behavioral traits, and, even the subtle personality stuff that defines the really successful compliance pros.
And we'll show you exactly how organizations try to spot these indispensable qualities.
Okay, let's dig in. Let's unpack this. At its core, the compliance specialist role, like our source defines it, it really focuses on a candidate's grasp of industry regulations, risk management.
The fundamentals.
Yeah, and making sure the organization actually adheres to legal standards. It sounds like a lot of rule following on the surface,
It can seem that way.
but our source pretty quickly shows it goes much, much deeper than just ticking boxes, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. What's fascinating here is how quickly the whole perception of this role has shifted. I mean, not that long ago, compliance was often seen as, well, a necessary evil, right? A cock center.
Yeah, the Department of No.
Kind of. But our source highlights the significant upswing, a real jump in recruitment for these specialists. And it's driven by companies finally realizing they need proactive navigators, not just reactive problem solvers.
That's a key distinction.
It is. They're recognizing the absolutely crucial role these folks play in safeguarding against potential risks and ensuring they stick to the legal frameworks in this incredibly complex, always shifting regulatory world. It's not just about avoiding fines anymore. It's about strategic resilience.
Okay, so if a company is really looking for that kind of strategic partner, that proactive navigator you mentioned, what specific qualities and experiences are they, really zeroing in on? Beyond the obvious stuff, what sets the best candidates apart?
Well, our source breaks this down quite nicely, starting with what it calls general competencies.
Right, the foundation.
Exactly. Foundational knowledge, experience. And the interview questions here, they're designed to really gauge a candidate's understanding of the relevant regulations and, crucially, their track record in actually managing compliance issues.
Makes sense.
Precisely. So let's take staying updated. It's more than just reading the headlines. Employers want to see that candidates are actively plugged in.
Immersed, almost.
Exactly. A top specialist doesn't just, subscribe to regulatory newsletters. They're actively participating in industry forums. They're going to compliance conferences. They're engaged in continuous professional development. It's about having your finger on the pulse.
Kind of anticipating changes.
Yeah, almost anticipating regulatory shifts before they even fully hit. They're proactively following the relevant authorities, maybe on social media platforms, looking for those emerging trends.
Okay, so being plugged in is key. What about when things go wrong? Problem solving.
Right. Problem solving and resolution. Our source suggests the real insight here is that the best specialists don't just fix problems. They sort of embed a compliance by design mindset.
What does that mean in practice?
Well, a good answer to a question about resolving an issue, say a vendor failing to meet data security standards, isn't just about fixing that immediate problem. It's about describing, yes, immediately starting an investigation, but then collaborating to implement corrective measures and going back to revise the whole vendor selection and monitoring process.
Ah, so it doesn't happen again.
Exactly. To prevent future systemic issues. It's about tuning that reactive fix into something strategic, a preventative advantage, really.
It's a great way to put it. Not just patching the leak, but reinforcing the whole plumbing system.
You got it.
So what about the proactive side? Like actually developing the policies or getting everyone else in the organization to buy into them?
Right. Policy development and implementation is obviously key. Employers want to know a candidate's approach, and critically tied to that is fostering a compliance culture.
Getting everyone on board.
Yes. How do you make sure employees throughout the organization aren't just aware, but are actively compliant? Our source really emphasizes developing comprehensive training programs. And we're not talking about just clicking through basic modules.
No, death by PowerPoint.
Hopefully not. We're talking interactive workshops, maybe e-learning that's engaging, regular communication channels, things that truly embed compliance as, like, a shared responsibility, making it part of the company's DNA.
Okay, and what about when rules clash? That must happen. Oh, definitely. That highly nuanced skill of navigating conflicts. Imagine, like the source suggests, getting conflicting compliance requirements from different regulatory bodies. It's a very real scenario, especially for global companies.
You can't just pick one.
Not usually. It requires a really strategic mindset. You've got to thoroughly analyze each requirement, prioritize based on impact, potential consequences, and then, this is crucial, engage with legal counsel or maybe seek guidance from industry associations. You have to find the best, most compliant path forward without accidentally creating new problems.
Wow, yeah. I can imagine that often takes a lot of careful communication, because it's rarely a solo mission, is it? Compliance pros need to work with basically everyone.
Absolutely. Collaboration is just vital. Strong candidates will describe how they effectively connect with departments like legal, IT, HR.
The whole web.
Right. Seeing compliance as something that touches the entire organization, not just some isolated function in a corner. It's about building bridges, sharing insights, making sure there's a comprehensive, unified approach. Often, it's about influencing people without having direct authority over them.
Okay, this is where, for me, it gets really interesting. The behavioral interview questions. These aren't just about what you know in theory.
Right.
It's about how you've actually used that knowledge
Right.
in real, often tricky situations in the past, trying to predict future performance based on, well, actual behavior.
Exactly. It's about proof, not just claims. For instance, take implementing new programs. A candidate might talk about setting up, say, an anti-money laundering and AML program.
Okay.
A top specialist wouldn't just say, yeah, I did that. They detail the thorough assessment beforehand, the collaboration with cross-functional teams, which can be tricky, maybe the technical hurdles of pulling together diverse data for monitoring transactions.
All the messy details.
All the messy, important details, creating training materials that people actually understand and use, and then ultimately showing they achieved full compliance, probably within a challenging timeline. It shows they can plan and execute even when things get technically complicated.
That makes sense. What about adapting to sudden changes? Regulations shift all the time.
Oh, that's another crucial one. Adapting to change. Think about maybe new complex data privacy rules dropping with a really short deadline for implementation.
Stressful.
Very. A top candidate would explain how they were proactively monitoring regulatory websites, how they conducted a swift but really thorough gap analysis across all the systems and processes affected.
Sorting the problems quickly.
Right. And then how they spearheaded collaboration across departments, IT, legal, HR, operations, everyone to rapidly get the necessary measures in place. It shows agility, sure, but also that strategic foresight.
Training keeps coming up in the source material. How do behavioral questions get into that more deeply?
Well, when discussing effective training programs, a candidate might share an example, maybe designing training for a big multinational company, lots of different teams, different regional rules.
Complex audience.
Very. They'd talk about doing a proper needs assessment for each group, tailoring the content. You can't just give everyone the same thing, maybe using a smart mix of in-person workshops, e-learning, interactive quizzes.
Trying to make it stick.
Exactly. And the emphasis would be on demonstrating measurable impact. How did this training actually change behavior? How did it reduce risk? They need to show results.
Okay, and the flip side, what about when things go wrong? Managing breaches.
Yeah, managing breaches. Let's say there's unauthorized access to confidential customer data, a nightmare scenario.
Right.
A candidate would need to describe immediately kicking off a forensic investigation, analyzing system logs, interviewing people carefully to preserve evidence, maybe bringing in external experts.
Topping the trail.
Precisely. Then preparing a detailed incident report, recommending clear steps for remediation to fix the vulnerability, and making sure they comply with all the notification rules, often under huge time pressure. It shows not just crisis management, but a really rigorous, evidence-based approach.
And what about finding weaknesses before they become big breaches? That proactive piece seems like a hallmark of a great specialist.
Absolutely. That falls squarely under identifying and addressing gaps. A strong candidate might talk about finding, I don't know, subtle but important gaps in the company's code of conduct regarding conflicts of interest.
Okay.
They wouldn't just flag it and walk away. They'd describe how they researched best practices, worked strategically with legal and HR, developed a revised code with clear, actionable guidelines.
Making it practical.
Yes. And then implemented targeted training sessions, maybe even set up an anonymous reporting hotline. It really shows their analytical skills, their foresight, and their ability to put in place systemic preventative improvements.
Okay, so we've covered the knowledge base, the past actions. What does this all mean for the sort of human side of compliance? What about those inherent personality traits, the crucial soft skills that really make someone excel in this role, turning them into that indispensable guardian we talked about?
Yeah, this is where the personality interview questions really come into play. They try to reveal those crucial soft skills. For example, working under pressure. It's pretty much guaranteed in this job.
I bet.
A strong answer wouldn't just be, oh, I handle it well. It would involve specific strategies, like how they meticulously prioritize tasks based on urgency and impact, how they break down huge, complex projects into manageable steps.
Staying organized.
Exactly. And maintaining mental clarity and accuracy even when deadlines are screaming. Sometimes it even involves knowing when to strategically delegate or maybe push back on unrealistic expectations, but using data to back it up.
Makes sense.
All right.
And continuous learning came up before as a competency.
Right, but it's also a personality trait, a deep-seated commitment. Continuous learning here means candidates should be able to talk about how they proactively stay current, not just passively receiving info,
How so?
through a diverse mix of sources. Maybe niche industry newsletters, specialized compliance conferences and webinars, actively pursuing relevant certifications. It shows a genuine intellectual curiosity, a dedication to evolving with the regulatory landscape, often trying to stay a step ahead.
I can imagine that in compliance, you might sometimes hit, well, resistance. Pushback from colleagues, maybe even bosses, especially if new rules mean changing how things are done. How do good candidates deal with that?
That's a critical point, and it comes up in questions about handling resistance. A truly proactive and collaborative approach is key here. A top candidate would explain how they actively listen to the concerns first.
Understand the why.
Exactly. Seek to understand the root cause of the pushback and then provide comprehensive, data-driven reasons for the compliance initiatives. It's about highlighting the benefits, maybe mitigating the perceived downsides, and building genuine consensus and buy-in. It's about influence, not just waving the rule book.
Influence, not just authority. I like that.
Mm-hmm. And cross-functional collaboration comes up again too, but more from this personality angle. Here, candidates need to show how they actively initiate regular meetings, foster open dialogue, and genuinely look for common goals when working with all those different teams: legal, IT, operations, sales.
Bridging the gaps.
Yeah, being a bridge builder, fostering that sense of shared responsibility to achieve consensus on compliance frameworks.
And finally, problem solving again, but maybe framed more through their personal drive and how they approach it.
Absolutely. When asked about their problem-solving skills in a compliance context, a candidate might detail a scenario like finding a significant gap in the company's records management process.
Okay, a concrete example.
Right. They'd describe conducting a thorough, maybe independent analysis first, then engaging key stakeholders across different departments to really understand the operational impact, and then implementing a comprehensive, practical solution.
Not just theoretical.
No, something real. Could involve a new centralized system, clear retention policies, robust employee training. This really showcases their critical thinking, their ingenuity, and their ability to develop effective real-world solutions that actually, move the needle.
It's clear that interviews cover a ton of ground. But our source material also talks about how companies go beyond just the conversation, right, to objectively measure these skills.
That's right. That's where skill assessments come in. They provide objective, quantifiable measurements of a candidate's actual skills and abilities.
Taking out some of the subjectivity.
Exactly. Allowing employers to make truly informed decisions based on concrete data, reducing that subjective bias. And for compliance specialists, several types of assessments are really valuable.
Like what?
Well, first, there are compliance knowledge assessments. These test a candidate's deep understanding of specific regulations, industry standards, best practices, often through multiple choice questions or maybe complex scenario-based exercises.
Testing the book smarts.
Kind of, yeah. Then you have analytical and problem-solving assessments. These test the ability to really dissect complex situations, identify maybe hidden patterns, and make sound, logical decisions, often under pressure.
And given how much documentation and data must be involved in compliance, I imagine attention to detail is absolutely crucial too.
Oh, massively. Attention to detail assessments aren't just about catching typos, though that's part of it. They measure a candidate's ability to spot subtle errors, inconsistencies, discrepancies in, say, huge volumes of complex legal documents or intricate financial data sets.
Things that could signal a real problem.
Exactly. Things that could indicate a systemic weakness or even potentially a sophisticated attempt at non-compliance. Or finally, communication and ethical decision-making assessments. These look at both written and verbal skills vital for training and advising, but also their ability to navigate tricky, real-world ethical dilemmas and make sound choices aligned with the organization's guidelines.
So these assessments, they aren't just extra hoops to jump through. They provide objective measurements, concrete data, helping employers get deeper, verifiable insights into what a candidate can actually do. It sounds like it's about building a compliance team that's truly ready for, well, pretty much anything.
That's the goal, building that resilient, well-equipped team.
Wow, what a journey we've taken today, huh? We started by really highlighting the critical, just undeniable need for top-tier compliance specialists in this rapidly changing business world.
It's certainly evolving quickly.
Then we really dove deep into the layers of what makes a successful professional in this field, from that foundational knowledge and general competencies
Right, the baseline skills.
to the crucial behavioral insights, drawn from how they've actually handled real-world situations. And then finally, those essential personality traits and soft skills that kind of tie it all together.
And we wrapped it up by looking at how leading organizations use those objective skill assessments to make sure they're hiring people with the precise, demonstrable capabilities they need to really excel.
Yeah, it's all about building resilient, ethically sound organizations that can not just navigate, but actually thrive within all the complexities of today's regulatory environment.
That's the ideal. Absolutely.
So as we've explored all this, the role demands constant adaptation, complex problem solving, that art of managing resistance and influencing people. Consider this sort of provocative thought to leave you with. In an increasingly AI-driven world where maybe compliance rules get quickly codified, maybe even enforced by algorithms, could the truly human elements, things like ethical judgment, the subtle art of influencing diverse stakeholders, that unique skill to navigate genuinely novel, ambiguous compliance challenges, the situations the algorithms haven't been trained on yet, could those become the most invaluable aspects of a compliance specialist's role?
That's interesting.
What might that mean for the future of compliance careers? And maybe more personally, how might you proactively cultivate those uniquely human skills? Something to think about.